Alrighty. I think everyone's joined in. Shall we get started, Andy?
Yeah, let's get started. Recording is running.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. My name is Ali Mullah Hosseini. I'm the technical writer here at SpecFlow, and I've got with me today our community manager, Andreas Willisch. Andy, tell us what's the webinar about today?
Yeah, today we have the guided onboarding session. So we go through our step-by-step guides, step-by-step, that you can follow. The idea is that you follow along with me. If you have questions, problems, feel free to ask. And afterwards, I'll quickly show you also a Selenium example. And then we have time for Q&A.
Awesome. Sounds exciting. All right. Just before we kick off, a few housekeeping stuff. This is a hands-on session, as Andy just explained. So tag along with him. You will learn a lot more that way. Please use the Q&A tool in Zoom to ask questions. And if you find a question that is also interesting to you, please upvote. Yeah, the Q&A at the bottom bar. When questions are relevant to what Andy is describing and explaining, I will try to interrupt him and ask him on the spot. And we will have a Q&A session at the end. So if your questions go unanswered during the step-by-step guide, we will have it at the end and we will try to cover them all at the end. Before we kick off, I'm just going to launch a quick poll. It's just two simple questions we want to ask you guys because, hey, you guys ask us questions. It's our turn too, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll just launch the poll now. Simple questions. We just want to get to know our audience better, basically. Did you use SpecFlow before? Yes or no? And what is your role in your team? This is just to get to know you guys better. Give you all a minute to do this. Okay, interesting. Not many people who have used SpecFlow before.
A lot of new people.
Yeah, new people.
You're at the right place.
Yeah, exactly. You're at the right place. All right, I will. Yeah, we got 95% have already voted, so that is good enough. I will end the poll, share the results. So 62% of you guys haven't used SpecFlow before. This is exactly the webinar tailored to your needs. You're going to get a good understanding of how to use SpecFlow and how to build your first test automation and first project. And also your role in the team, testers, even better. That's the kind of people we're looking for. Testers, developers next, followed by BAs, stakeholders, and other. Awesome. Andy, I think you can kick off and get us to the guide.
Then let's go. And I simply jump into here. I have a virtual machine, Windows 10, nothing there. It's Visual Studio 2019, latest version. Yesterday, freshly updated, installed. And the first thing, what you need to do, or first thing you need, best thing to do, when you start with SpecFlow is to install our IDE extension. We have one for Visual Studio, we have one for JetBrains Rider. Today's the onboarding webinar is we are using Visual Studio. So we need to install the Visual Studio extension. For that, we started, and we say continue without code. Because every extension installation needs a restart on Visual Studio. And we want to do this quick, and everything else is slow in Visual Studio. So you go to the manage extension, go to the marketplace, and search for SpecFlow, and then you find the SpecFlow for Visual Studio 2019 extension. Press download, close this window, and as said that Visual Studio is installing this extension, you need to close it. Again, then this VSX installer window pops up. Confirm by pressing modify, and now the extension is installed. And this extension show you a lot of some of the features during today's session, and yeah, makes it quite nice to work with SpecFlow within Visual Studio. Yeah, this is always taking some time. and done. Finally, so let's start Visual Studio again. And you can probably, yeah, let's say continue without code. And under manage extensions, under installed, we have now SpecFlow for Visual Studio 2019. Cool. So first step done. So let's go to the coding part. That we can test something with SpecFlow, we first need a so-called subject under test, our test application. In our case, this will be a console class library, .NET class library, and with a calculator example. So I have here already recent project templates, the class library for C#. And you see here also from the Visual Studio extension, what we now installed it, with here a project template for SpecFlow that we will use in the next step. But let's use the class library. We call it SpecFlow calculator. And yeah, where is my mouse? Here. Next. We're using .NET Core 3.1. Today it's in long-term support still, so valid action. Okay, I have already something there from the last webinar. Give me a moment.
Yeah, so sitting through the webinar is a pretty good idea to get a good understanding, but you can also find these steps on our website. So I will put the link in the chat so you can use our step-by-step guide as well, if you want to do this in a slower pace.
Yeah, especially for the next step it's quite helpful, but I will also send it in chat. We have some implementation of our calculator. It's a quite stripped down one. I can share it in the chat with you. We have a first number, second number property, and we have a method, public method add, which is not implemented yet. And let's also fix the file name. So now we have a subject under test, and now we can start creating our SpecFlow project and try to test this. Give you a moment that you can type the code or get it from the chat window.
Yeah, just a quick note. Someone asked if this is supported in VS 2015. So SpecFlow extension works best in 2017, 2019 or higher Visual Studios.
2019. We are working on support for 2022 at the moment. We're looking into this, so it should be there when the version is released, but currently 2017, 2015, 2017, 2019. I think Microsoft ended support for Visual Studio 2015 in October last year. And we are always following the support life cycles from Microsoft with all our stuff what we are supporting. Good. Back to the step-by-step guide. So we have our subject under test. Let's create our SpecFlow project. Let's go to on the solution, say add new project. And now we can use the SpecFlow project template. We give it a name, the SpecFlow calculator .specs. This .specs is over the years. It's got our. We started always using .specs for project with SpecFlow. So let's create this project. We also want .NET Core 3.1 here. This dialog is because of the project template. You can select here the test framework. We are supporting our own specialized run, the SpecFlow Plus runner, but we also support XUnit, NUnit, and MS Test in SpecFlow. So if you want to use something else, you can do this. Today we are using the runner, and we also want for later use, we want to use this Fluent assertion library. We're a big fan of this library. It makes it really nice to write assertion statements. I will show you that in a bit. So let's create this project and let's see what's happening. So our default project has we have the appropriate NuGet packages already added. We have then some folders with some files. So we have our feature folders where our feature files are. In the feature files, that's where you write your scenarios. Sorry. In Gherkin, to that in a moment more. We have also our steps files where then the implementation is. And we have also prepared some folders for hooks and drivers, a little bit more advanced topic, a little bit too deep for the onboarding webinar, but you can read in our documentation about the driver pattern and also about the hooks. And by some luck, the feature file we already created is also about a calculator. What happened here? So every feature file has a feature title. We have some description, and then you have your scenarios. And in this case, we had add to numbers scenario for the calculator. And then in Gherkin, you have this given, when, then language keywords. And if you know from coded testing, unit testing, there are these triple A's, this arrange, act, assert. And given, when, then is very similar to this. The given part is where you arrange your subject number tests. So in our case, the first number and the second number. The when part is the act section. In that case, we are adding these numbers, and the then is then where we do our assertions, where we check, okay, the result should be that way. Yeah, this is all Gherkin. The language is called Gherkin. You see it here in English, but we support, I don't know, more than 20 languages here. So you could use German, Portuguese, Spanish, French. I think there's also Klingon support.
I'm sure there is.
and as Hungarian, Russia, a lot of languages. And when you have these files, when I now built the project, we see it now here popping up in our test explorer. So we have the specs, the calculator, and add to numbers. And let's see what's happening when we run these. And yeah, it's finished running, but what happened here? So this is a specialty for the SpecFlow Plus runner. That you can use it, you need to activate, you have a SpecFlow account and need to activate your machine. So you have to switch to the output pane and here go to tests. And here you see here that you need to activate it. You need a SpecFlow account, it's free. Have to register, and this takes about 30 seconds. So you click the link if you hold Control, you can open the link directly, and welcome page is there. At the moment, we are supporting Microsoft accounts. So you say sign in with Microsoft. I already did this on this machine once, so I have my corporate account. Okay, now it wants my password. Let's give me a moment.
Yeah, just an FYI, if you pick the different runner than SpecFlow runner, at this point, you will not need to do any of this.
Yeah.
XUnit and Uni, if you chose that, this is just to sign in into our runner. As Andy said, it's a free product, and we think it's a pretty cool runner. And if you use it, there are some advantages that I'm sure Andy is going to talk about them. Yeah, this is just the sign-in process. You use your Microsoft account. You can use a personal account or a work account. Sometimes in bigger companies, you might face some admin issues with the corporate accounts to sign in here. You might not have the correct permissions to do that. And if you do, I will paste the link here so you can talk to your admin about that to resolve it. But you can always use your personal account.
Yeah, and we didn't saw every step now because I already have this done with my corporate account. So first time you get some permission request. We can't request less data here. That's technically not possible. It's really first name, email address, and minimum data. Want some a little bit more information about you, and done. And these two steps you only need to do once. And as you saw for me, I didn't have it. Then you get the welcome screen. To instruct you, go back now to Visual Studio. And now when we run this again, we should get a result. And now it's yellow. And why it's yellow, let's have a look at the output. Okay. New Visual Studio version changed. So what we see here is the standard output. We have here our given when and then statements, and we here in the first we see pending the number, the method here, and that's now because we still need to say what should happen when this step is executed, and for that. Now we need to implement our automation layer. What we can do is one feature of the Visual Studio extension is we have navigation. So go to definition works with F12, and we say this here. We now jump to this calculator step definitions class, what we already prepared. We have the binding method, and this mapping between put them side by side that you can see this better. The mapping between this step here and what method is executed is done by this attribute. So we have here a given attribute, that's the same keyword here. And then you have a string, which is a regular expression, which will match this one. So we have also here a parameter. The 50 is a parameter. What we get here is parameter, and the rest is matched as regular expression. And with this information, SpecFlow knows them. So SpecFlow calls some stuff with the string, and then it via reflection and this matching knows them then which method is executed. And yeah, we have this for given. Then for the when statements, you need the when attribute. And for the then, you need the then attribute. You can have multiple attributes on the methods. There is, so you can also have given when then on one method as you need. But let's start implementing now automation logic. Let's remove this complete. And yeah, given first number is, so what we need to do is we need an instance of our calculator class and set the property. This is a very reduced example. So what we can do in our case here is we make first you need a reference, but we make a plain normal field where we save the instance of the calculator class, and we are already instantiating here. And now we can use it in this statement. So calculate the first number equals number. Implemented. And when we build this now and open the test explorer and start running, we should see a different result. Yeah, we see now given the first number is, so this was done. And now we have the pending at the second step, and the second number is 70. So let's continue with implementing our steps. So the second one is quite similar to the first one. One thing I forgot to mention is SpecFlow can also do some type conversions. So it's here an int, we can already say here int, and it does automatically the conversion from string to integer. So that's quite nice. And you can also adjust this if you need. So our main action, our assertion, action method. So what we have here is we have the add method and the calculator. Let's have a quick look again at this. What's different here is it returns the result. It doesn't store it. So we need to store the result in our step definition that we can access it at the then statement to do the assertion. And again, reduced example, in our case, we can make a field here. And we say actual result equals, and save it here as a field, and now we can exit it down in this method. In your application, what's probably more complicated, you need to handle then the lifetime and the scope of your application subject under test on how it is done in your project. This reduced example, we can do it that quite easy. Probably you need some TI container, and so starting up application or logic parts and to access them is often some work. Depends always on your application how you do it. Good. Then to the back to the assertion, to the then step. What I always do is here I rename this parameter to expected result to make it even more readable. And now the fluent assertion library comes into place. So to use it, add the using statement, and what this library does allow us, we can write actual result, and we get now some extension methods. This should method, and then we can write should be expected result. So I'm a big fan of this library because it makes so easy readable what is happening here. I'm honest, I'm always forgetting the order in the assert. So NUnit, XUnit, MSDS, all their assert libraries. And I think one of them is the other way around. It's not expected actual, it's actual expected. Or I always confused with them. That's one of the reasons why I'm using this. And it produces also very nice error messages. That's really good, especially with strings. It shows you where the differences are. So if you didn't know it, give it a try. Good. Let's build this. Our automation is done for the moment. And press run.
Andy, while that's running,
yeah.
Veronica wants to know what are the advantages of using the SpecFlow runner compared to other runners?
The other runners. So there are some specialized features that is very interesting if you do integration testing with SpecFlow on your project. So we have more advanced features on parallel execution of your scenarios test. So that you can also do it with memory separation if you have some static fields or so. It's there. We have some features that you can run your whole suite on scenarios with different configurations. That's called targets. We have a retry functionality in it. So if something is failing, it automatically retries the scenario. And that's the biggest. There's a lot of small features that can be quite handy for integration testing.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy.
Sure. Good. It's finished. So it's red. Why it's red? Ah, yeah. We didn't implement it. And now you see it with 3 fails. So this is default. We're retrying it again for flaky text. This case is not really necessary. But let's implement the methods. In that case, it's first number plus second number. Build it, run it, and green. Cool. So first scenario automated. Reduced example, but because 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Good. That was we had this for this scenario. We had a lot of prepared, so we had also the methods here, the step definitions already. Let's see how this looks like when we write a new scenario. So what we are doing is we add another scenario for our calculator. Let's subtract 2 numbers. So we have the first number is 120, second number is 70. 2 numbers are subtracted, and then the result should be 50. But let's lay that you see also the failing messages from fluent assertion. Let's keep them error. What you see perhaps now is zoom in a little bit. That is better. This when step is not purple, and this means there is no binding for this. There's no automation for this step yet. The black ones that we had, but this is new. We need to create one, and there are multiple ways to do this. You have in the context menu a generate step definition, a button where a window opens to generate all, or if you have more of them here. I'm personally using always, say, go to definition also, F12, and then I get a small pop-up if you want to get the skeleton code for this method, and I'll say yes. And then I go to the class where I want to add it. So back again. So add it to my step definitions in the clipboard, and I have it here. And when we now go back, we see it's black. So there is an implementation, but it doesn't do anything. And so it doesn't do anything. So let's quickly show you that. So when we build this now, we see we have here now a second entry. Let's run them.
So yeah, the syntax highlighting that Andy just showed, it's quite handy. It might not be much when you look at a simple Gherkin scenario, just the one that we're demonstrating here. But when you have a lot of steps, a lot of Gherkin scenarios, and you have more content in there, it's very handy to quickly find out what has already been, the automation code has been already done or not. And the right click to generate is also really good to help you quickly create the skeleton code, so you can quickly do your implementation in there.
Yeah, and what I didn't show is we have also IntelliSense with autocomplete here that suggests you the steps that are possible. I didn't show that. Good. Now, yeah, it's again yellow because we have a pending step. Let's implement this. So actual result is calculator.subtract. We need to create this method. Now we're doing a little bit of test-driven thing. So we have now the method, it's built. Let's run it. We see it's red because it's not implemented. Let's implement it. It's first number minus second number. Let's run it again. And then we see the error message, expected actual result to be 60, but found 50. And this is from full assertions. You have also the variable name here, so you know exactly what's going wrong here. Now we can fix this because this is 50. Good. And second scenario green. All done. Cool.
Awesome. Andy, this question is a bit further back from when we started the project. Veronica wants to know if is a SpecFlow project also a .NET Core project?
It's this template, what we are generating is a project that uses the SDK format, so the reduced, the smaller CS format, so not the classic one. But this works for .NET Core, .NET Framework, or .NET 5, and .NET 6. So yes, this is the short answer.
Cool.
We support .NET Framework starting 4.6.1, 4.6.2, .NET Core 2.1, 3.1 and after, and .NET 5, and soon .NET 6.
Yeah, always ahead of the game. Andy, is the scope of scenarios limited to the same feature file, or can it span to multiple feature files?
No. Good question. Very important question. I forgot to mention this. Bindings, step bindings are global, and global means for the whole project. So regardless in which feature file you're using it, there is one. There's one. So there's, if you use this, given the first number is in 20 feature files, it always goes by default to the same step definition and calls the same method. There are methods to scope these, quite advanced topic. If you're starting new, don't go that way. The reason for this it's global is it's simpler. Every feature file you read in the project is the step, it should do the same, because you don't want to think, okay, I'm now in that feature file, now this step is doing that, and then if I'm that feature file, this step is doing that, but has the same text. So that's the reason why it's global, to make it easier to remember and understand what's happening in the scenarios.
Awesome. Thanks for that. All right.
Good. So what I showed you now is all in Visual Studio, all in your development environment. We run this tests here. We have our feature files here. But in the years, we noticed that's not accessible for all members of the team. Developers and testers with technical background have no problem to handle this working in the IDEs. But when it comes to product owner, analysts, and so handling version control systems, IDEs, and most of them are not their environment. But the idea is to have these feature files accessible for everybody in the team and more. And for that, we created a tool called SpecFlow plus Living Doc. And I want to quickly show you this. So what we first need is a command line tool, command prompt, because we need to install it. And this is, we are using a .NET global tool for that. And you can install this with this one-liner. Here it is in the chat. And when you install it, installs a command line tool called Living Doc that will then generate everything. If this is your first .NET tool, you probably need to close the command prompt and restart it again, because it initializes the first time things that needs a restart of your command prompt. So I don't need that. So I have now this Living Doc tool command available. What I need to do is I need to pass to my output directory. Let's quickly switch there. And what I could do now here is I say Living Doc. There are multiple commands and possibilities. I'm saying now test assembly. That's the SpecFlow calculator.spec TLL and -t, because we need test execution data. You start this, and then you get a message that the Living Doc HTML was generated. Let's have a quick look at this one. And what you see here is we have again our feature tree from Visual Studio. So we have projects, features, and the feature file. And then we have the scenarios, and here the content. And the nice thing is now this is a single HTML file, and this can be shared in your team how you like, per email, uploaded to a web space, per Slack, per Teams, how you like. So the idea is that you generate these Living Doc during a CI build after your test run, because you have also the test execution results here, and then upload it somewhere, shared with your people. You have some analytics also here, and what is also okay, the image is broken, but we're also supporting Markdown. So we have here Markdown in the description, and we can now render this here. So we have formatting, we have links, external links, internal links, and if the image would be there, we also could have showed images here.
Yeah, Andy,
yes.
Just a couple of things. So obviously the setup of this is a lot. There's more to it. So if you can quickly tell us what the test execution JSON file is, and how is that generated? Where does it come from? So
yeah, the important part for this test execution things is a file that's called test execution JSON, and this is generated because in our project wizard, the project that we created has this SpecFlow Plus Living Doc plugin NuGet package as dependencies, and this is a SpecFlow plugin what generates then the package the test execution changes automatically. You can configure some stuff, but that's how it's automatically. What's important, depending on which of the commands you use, test assembly or feature folder, you have to be careful in which folder you are. In the test assembly is in the output folder, like I was, and the feature folder for that you have to be in the root of the project. So it looks something like feature folder. And now this path doesn't work. But not core start this, and then I did something wrong. I did something wrong.
But this is actually good because what I wanted to highlight is that if you don't have the plugin, the Living Doc plugin, and you don't want to have your test execution results in Living Doc, you can totally do that. So the toggle that you see there, it says test results. So you can toggle that on and off to have your results or not in Living Doc. But also if you generally just want to have your feature files there listed without your test execution, maybe it's just the start of your project, you don't have your test running yet, and everything is failing, you don't want to have a bunch of red crosses there. All you have to do is not to pass the JSON file. And that way you can still generate Living Doc, but you won't have the test results in there. So this is a feature use case that we thought it would come in handy.
Yeah, or if you are using Cucumber and want to have Living Doc.
Yep.
Good. Yeah, that Living Doc I wanted to show you quickly.
Yeah. So we have a question around Living Doc, Andy. Does SpecFlow integrate? Okay, no, this is around SpecFlow. Does SpecFlow integrate with Jira? Is it possible to pass feature files to Jira or -X-Ray?
Jira X-Ray. I think there was something with X-Ray. I think that we had something in the runner to support X-Ray. I can't remember anymore, to be honest.
Yeah. What you can do with Jira and Living Doc is that you can actually link your features to your Gherkins and your feature files to the actual work item in Jira. That's something you can do in Living Doc.
There was a blog post.
All right.
It's not there anymore.
Keep that in mind. Yep. Not sure where that went.
Yeah. So there was something. I think X-Ray has some documentation about how to do this. The last time I checked.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that, Andy.
Good. Then before we go to the Q&A part, I quickly want to show you. Okay, we had now this calculator and it's on the class library. I quickly want to show you how it looks like for a web calculator. Give me a moment to show you the application. To Windows. So we have also some web calculator here. So first number, second number, press add, you get the result. And we made a demo project for this. So you probably
link it.
It's in our example repositories. So what we're using here is Selenium with a page object pattern. You see, probably recognize the first scenario. Then we have some scenario outline with some parameters. That's also something you can do with Gherkin. You have a scenario outline where you can define parameters and then have example tables where you can specify this parameters. And what we have here is a little bit more complex. So we have a page object pattern. A page object is a pattern where you abstract your website into a class, which wraps all your Selenium calls to find elements. So we have here a lot of private properties to get the different fields. And from the public API of this page object, when we have a look at the step definitions, we get it, and then we say, and the first number, given the first number is, and given the second number is, and we have this, and do this on the page object, and then here in the then we get from the page object the results, and do again an assertion with fluid assertions on that. Yeah, Ali, you shared the documentation, separate documentation and everything. So if you want a deeper look, quite running out of time.
Yeah, this is just a more sophisticated example. So it's we can't cover it in 10 minutes, but make sure you check it out. It's pretty cool. It's testing automation, using Selenium, which is quite popular these days. So for web testing.
And we're using we're using here hooks. So hooks are events during life cycle of your test runs. So there's a before scenario hook that's always executed before a scenario. And in that case, we are resetting the website. So we're pressing on the reset button because we are in this case we open the browser only once and we use it for everything. And we have also the driver pattern here to wrap around the Chrome driver to handle this life cycle of the Chrome driver, to start it and also then to stop again when we are finished. Good. And we are doing, I think we're doing headless here. Does it pop up? No, it does pop up. So we now see also that's something is happening when we run the tests.
Super quick.
Good. I quickly wanted to show you this, that you see as also more visual stuff. So SpecFlow isn't limited to any tech stack. I would say tech stack automation technologies. You're not limited to only using Selenium. You're not limited to only call direct APIs. You can use in SpecFlow everything what can be used in .NET. Is it Playwright? Is it REST Sharp? What you want to use? Is it Appium for mobile tests? You can use it. If it's callable in .NET, you can use it with SpecFlow.
Awesome.
And with that, let's go to the Q&A. There's still some questions open, Ali.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. I'll kick off with question for Veronica. Is it possible to divide step definitions to separate files and it will still be global?
Sure. Where's my virtual machine? So we have it here only in one. SpecFlow searches for these bindings in all classes that has this binding attribute. So let's say we move this when steps in a separate class, class action steps, not recommended what I'm currently doing. Also, that's bad because of we have to share I can show you this because we have to share the field then over multiple step definitions, so not that quite quick and done. But yeah, needs the binding attribute, and then it searches on the methods for the attributes, and then this is done. So no need for a 4,000 line class with every step definition you need in one.
Yep, that's handy. Cool. Thanks, Andy. Kind of the last question we got here. I would like to develop automated tests using in-house simulators. What is the best way to do it in a SpecFlow project? Add simulators as dependencies, add a NuGet package to packages, or other?
I assume it's a .NET DLL, so depends on how you ship your in-house simulators in-house. If you also use NuGet packages internally or not only have simple DLLs, doesn't matter for SpecFlow. For that, it's normal project. You can add NuGet packages, add direct assembly references to assemblies as you like. Nothing special there.
Awesome. Cool, Andy. I've got an interesting one around Gherkin.
Mm-hmm.
So are Gherkin statements given when then meant to be reusable amongst different projects and solutions, or should be isolated to the scope of that particular project or solution?
The second one. So it's the scope of the project, because what you want to do with Gherkin is to describe how the application should behave. And how. So you don't use, it's a bad practice that you have if you have something like if I enter an email at user@example.com in text box with ID email address, and I enter super secret password into text field with ID password. That's a bad practice. You get then with you use Gherkin for test scripting then. What was not the original idea behind it. The idea is that you describe how the application should behave, and in a way that everybody understands what is happening here. So not only the developer, the tester, product owner, but also you can show it to your customers and say, is the behavior of the application correct? Should it behave it that way? And so with that, expect you have implemented the same functionality 10 times. I only saw it's always individual formulations for the steps for every project. I was there. There were no reuse between projects, because completely different domain. There were different words used in the different projects. So yeah, the idea is that you 3 weeks, 4 weeks after you implement it, you still understand what the application is doing, how the application is behaving. Hope that answered the question.
Yep, thanks for that, Andy. Question from David. As specific definitions are global, what to do about state? In example, we used private fields to hold instances of the calculator.
Yeah, so let me quickly check if this I can show you this in the Selenium example. Yeah, I can show you this here. So as said, it's a quite reduced example, and we saw it with when I wanted to share state between 2 steps already, that there is not that easy with private fields. What SpecFlow has is so-called context injection. So it's a DI injection. So what you need to know is that the life cycle of a step class is the same as of a scenario. So for every scenario, there's a separate instance of the step class, and that's why a private field also works, because every scenario gets its own instance. There's no overlap between the tests. There's no cross-talking between the scenarios. And what also is with context injections, we can request instances from other classes via constructor. So here I'm requesting this browser driver, which holds all the logic to handle the Chrome driver, and this is the place where we are saving the instance of the Chrome driver here in a lazy object encapsulated. But you can do this the same with your own state. So you create a class where you save your state, and then you can request in every step definition where you need it, this class via constructor, and then you can access it from there. And it gets automatically destroyed when the scenario is done. It's the keyword is context injection. I need the docs. I could show you that. Context injection. That's the part. Here we see the example. So we have here the class person data with first name, last name. And then we have two step definitions were requested. And both of them gets the same instance of this person data. And so you can share a state between steps. And this is what we would need to do now also in the calculator that I can split the binding. So I would need to have the calculator put into a separate class that wraps it to get it via context injection, everything to handle the lifecycle. And then I could have split it and access the same instance. I share the link to this documentation here. Very, very important topic.
Cool. Thank you, Andy. I hope that answered your question, David. That brings us to the end of the webinar, from what I can see.
Yeah, and time is already up.
Yep.
Two last things. Webinar is recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Should be online on Friday. YouTube also always takes some time for processing it. And if you have questions, please post them in the community forums. All the SpecFlow users are there. The team is looking there, so to give answers, help you. So if you have questions, go there, and we'll try to help you.
Yep.
And with that, thank you for joining today. Can reach out to me. Please follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn to get the latest information about SpecFlow. And I hope I see you soon.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you in the next session.